Greetings. I will be trying to show you guys how to use the extrude node, the separate component, and the scale elements to make some interesting shapes and designs. Alright, first, you got your default cube. You can click on geometry nodes here at the top, pulls up this window. Click on new, you get that right there. And first thing I'm going to do is, actually I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm actually going to start with curved circle. I'm going to turn a curve into a 3D shape. Curve to mesh. No, excuse me. Curve to mesh. When I type in curve to mesh, why does mesh to curve pop up first? That's just evil. Alright, and you don't even have to put anything in the profile. It will just give you the circle. But because it's now a mesh, you can extrude it. Extrude and offset. Combine. We will do it in the Z direction. And why is that not working? Like I just did this a few minutes ago. Let's see. Edges, that's why. There we go. So, yes, because it's a two-dimensional object, it has no faces. So you put them at edges, and now you've got a three-dimensional object, but you have no top and no bottom. But I'm not actually going to use. I'm not making a cylinder. What I am making is a ring with thickness. So I'm going to extrude it again, but this time I'm going to use faces, and the offset is going to be the normal. Let's turn this down quite a bit. Okay. There is currently a bug. It's already been reported. But when you extrude it in this manner, this right here, the normal is flipped. Right, no, I got rid of those. Anyway, there is actually a flip normals, flip faces. That I can put into right here. Now, the selection, actually I think it's right here I have to do it. Yep. See, it flips everything. But I can resample this curve right here and base it on the length. I believe it is curve length? Nope. Spline length. Yes, spline length. Alright, so. And I can flip faces where the index equals the length. Yeah, I've got to increase the size a little bit. Alright. I think it's actually length -1. So subtract, no, subtract 1, subtract 2, no, I had this working previously. I know it's the index. Let's say greater than. Alright, so put a little bit more depth in there. There we go. I don't know what's going on there. Let's see. Let's try less than. 0, 1. That's strange. Alright, let's control where the index is equal to 0. So it's got a length of 29. So it should be greater than or equal to 29, which should be the length of that is 29, so this is an index of 0. That makes no sense. Because the length of the curve minus the length of the curve would be 0. Oh, that's the negative length of the curve. So that makes no sense. 1 second. I had this working before. It's a bug fix where index is greater than. I've got to capture the attribute. Subtract 1. shouldn't work. It shouldn't work with 2. It should be 1. That's really... Anyway. So, we got it working. I don't use the individual because the individual will cause splits. Say, for example, we wanted in the opposite direction of the normal. Like if you want the ring to go outwards. If you do it by individual, you get these splits, which you may want that, you may not. For what I'm doing, I don't want those. So I always take the, I uncheck the individual. Let's mute this. So it goes inward. But you see how it doesn't have the wall there. So the other thing you can do, let's grab this, move it over, is you rejoin it with the original. And boom. You now have a whatever you want. And you can use whatever curve you want. Curve. Let's see. Let's go star. Star is a good one because it's got a unique shape to it. See? Nice little cookie cutter. Okay. It doesn't normally look that bad. Yeah, it looks much worse with the individual. I don't know why. It has to be the size. Because I've got this exact same thing in a different file and it doesn't look this bad. Okay, I don't know. I know. Resample curve 50. Nope, guess not. Pretty much the same. I mean, the curve is very much a curve. Alt Shift, Alt Shift click, get a star. Still get a star, still get a star, still get a star, still get a star. That still gets a star. And what? It now works. What? Why does that work now and didn't like 30 seconds ago? 0.4. Anyway, yeah, it's I'm using 3.1 alpha, so yeah. I am at a complete loss. I didn't do anything different. I just went through each node. I hit Alt Shift and click on it to bring up what it looks like, and it just magically worked. Alright. So, going to add in a little bit more to this. Alright, so the extruding the mesh, I extruded it, 1 meter. Let's add a couple of loop cuts. yes, you can now add loop cuts with the extrude, in a way. So, I don't want to extrude the entire mesh because it's now a three-dimensional mesh after this extrude. So, I just want, and oh, this is the, excuse me, it is a two-dimensional mesh. But I don't want to extrude all the points of this mesh. I just want to extrude the top line, and we just happen to have a nice little top selection. Without this, Alt Shift, we also want the same vector. Without the selection, it extrudes the entire thing. See how it gets the double line? And if you look at it, it should do an overlap bug. You can't really see it, but it does overlap, and overlapping is bad. So, what you want is just the top part. It's rid of the unnecessary lines, because it's only extruding this top line. But I only want this to be, say, 0.2. Alright. And I'm going to do this a couple more times. The top part of that, I'm going to extrude it, say another 1. Got to make sure you have the same offset. And I'm going to extrude another 0.2. Actually, this should be moved over here. So I've made it go up 1 meter, 0.2 meters, another 1 meter, 0.2 meters, and let's see, one more. Make it go up another meter. So the whole thing goes up 3.2 meters. But if you look at it, now, yep, got to make sure I go in the Z direction. So, you now have a pair of loop cuts. And did I remove the I did. I removed the recent. That's what happened. Alright. That's the only difference. So let's try resampling this based on length. That will make that's why it looks a little bit strange. But what happens there is it puts a loop cut every 1 meter. Which, you know, it's good to have uniformity if you need to select specific faces. Like now, I know that the number of faces per row is equal to the length of right here. No matter how big you make the curve, the number of faces, because I did this resample, will always equal to the length. That's important because I can use that as the index. Like I can now pick a row by adding the length times the number of rows up I want to go. So if I want to go to the second row, I would add the length times 1. If I want to go to the third row, I'd add the length times 2. So now, and I will actually use this for a specific example. Creating windows. Alright, so let's see. I don't have a glass material, so I'm going to make one. Let's see, I think just pumping the transmission up, I think that will do it. Let's see. Set material. Material. Yeah, it does a little bit weird when the with the faces there after resampling, but we'll live with it for now. I got it fixed in my other file, so I don't know. Transmission. Why? Oh, I remember what I did. Use nodes. Shading. Shift A to pick up the menu. And then just click on search. Glass material. Boom. Or not. Oh, there we go. Still or not. There we go. Oh, let's see. Render, cycles, GPU. Let's give it a background. I'm not an expert at Blender at all. Let's see. So bear with me. I'm trying to add a background. World properties. Ah, there it is. Environment texture. Oh, my eyes. Let's see, where is it? Go up one. There we go. Now we have glass. And I think there is a way to turn that off. I forgot how to turn it off. Anyway. Always have to to look it up how to turn the background thing off. So you still get the light, but you don't get the picture in it. But now everything is a window. But we're going to pick out just the ones we want. So index is less than, let's see, I think I have to drag it all the way from here. Because this is where I capture it. See, now I did it where the index is less than the row, so it should do the entire bottom in glass. Might have to do less than or equal to. Nope, it looks like it got all of them. Oh, I actually want to do a set material. Alright, I'll show you a little something. You notice how it is not glass on this side, but it is glass on this side. That's how you get a two-way mirror. You set one side, one face of a object to glass, and you set the other side to a solid. You'll be able to see through it in one direction and not in the other. It's kind of a interesting side effect. But you want to put the placement of it over here before you extrude, because this extrudes, let's see, this is the paper thin wall. Then here, you got the paper thin wall is glass all the way around. Then once you extrude it, it's now glass on both sides. But we don't want the bottom row. We don't even want the second row. We want the third row. So we'll do, let's see, math, this multiplied by, let's see, 3. It's 1, 2. It's less than 3, but greater than 2, I believe is how I did it. Shift right click. You have to have Node Wrangler to do this, and Node Wrangler is up under Edit, Preferences. Type in Node Wrangler right there. That allows you to do the shift and the drag. Shift right mouse button and drag to get that. So let's connect that in, connect that in, connect that in. You can't just type in and, for whatever reason it just won't show up. So Boolean math, and greater than. Now and now I have bugs. But that's strange. If I mute this, it doesn't go all the way around. Alright, let's go back to looking at this one, which is the two-dimensional one. Alright. Right there. It's going a little bit too far. So it should be, that's the length of the resampled curve. Wasn't this working just a second ago? This right here. I could have sworn it was glass all the way around just a second ago. Less than. Alright, well. That should work. File. Open recent. See, this is what I'm trying to show you. I've got proof it's working. Alright, let me see if I can dig through here. Window selection. Multiplied by index is less than the length yeah. I'm not doing it any differently. I'm not subtracting anything out. I'm multiplying. I'm capturing the length before I resample it. But the length should be exactly the same after I resample it. Alright, let's try that. Let's see, is there anything else I'm doing? No, it's just that should pick the row. File, open recent, test. Don't save. Alright, let's see if we move the capture attribute to before I resample it. Alright, what did I have this hooked up to? Add up to value. Alright. Let's see if that fixed it. It looks like it did. Alright, okay. I'm just not going to question it. Saving. Alrighty. So let's plug this one back in. And now you get to see what goes into working with geometry nodes. It's not as simple as some of the tutorials will show you. And I will see that picks up everything. There's no little leftovers. Mute that. And I've got a nice shiny entire row picked out. And it's not quite right. Greater than or equal to. Let's subtract 1 from that. Should get rid of, yep, alright, so got rid of that. So I've got one row and only one row. Got the entire thing all the way around. You see how to do that. Alright, so, but let's say we only want a window of size, say, 3 meters. Now we can go in there and I'll show you what you can do with Modulo. So here's a length again. Modulo. And let's see. 5. Let's see, I'm trying to think of... No, I want to try to remember the math for this. It's not easy. I want to pick out... No, it's index modulo this. There we go. That's what I'm trying to do. So this modulo the index, and then like wherever you want it on there, because this modulo will return the remainder. So it divides out, or basically subtracts out the index, or excuse me, the length from it. So it's how you pick a number on each row. So let's say equals say 5. I want to pick up the 5th index on, actually that'd be the 6th index because it starts at 0. So let's say 0, you do it with another and that will pick up absolutely nothing. Index modulo is equal to 0, 10. Alright, so this over here, here's where it starts. 1. I think that's why I had floor in here. Floor. Yeah, that's why I had floor. Otherwise it gets a little bit buggy when you get lengths of, say, 0.2. So, there. So where the index modulo the floor of the length of the curve before you sample it, picks the first object, or whatever number you have here. Oops. 4. Yeah, if you do, you can't do like 4.4 without having the epsilon higher. Let's say you want to do a window of width 3. So what you do is do this is the epsilon, which is the distance from the center. So you don't want to, if you're trying to do a width of 3, you would cut that number in half. So let's do 1.5. That would give you 1, 2, 3 windows. Starting at the 5th index of the 3rd row. And it now goes all the way through, so the window's on the inside. And here's where we get a little bit further, a little bit deeper in. Now let's try the extrude node again to make some window frames. Alright, let's see. Extrude. Now, here's where it gets a little bit complicated with the extrude node. Because you've now extruded out, you can no longer use the indexes because I have no idea how to find the index on both sides. So I have to use the unextruded mesh to extrude out the window frames. But this is, again, you want to use the normal to extrude, and you also want to pick out the same position up under the windows, but on a different row. So I duplicate all this. I actually use Shift D, so it, excuse me, nope. Not that one. Control Shift D? Yes, Control Shift D, so it keeps all the connections up. So that one's connected still. This right here would actually extrude the window, which is not what I want to do. And I want to do it in the negative normal, so vector math. Multiply -1. It extrudes out the window. But let's lower the row. So we'll lower this to 2. And lower this to 1. So now, can't really see it, but it is extruding the part under the window. And because I made loop cuts of the size, same size as the windowsill, it's automatically, where it needs to be. Am I still recording? Alright, still recording. Good. Alright, so that we can see it a little bit better, let's create a new material. Material. Add. New. Let's just change it to blue. And set material here to material. Okay. That's selection. I use the same selection as before. Actually, let's do a little bit different. Let's do top and duplicate this, put or the side. So now you got the top and you got the sides, just like that. Now, here's where we run in a bit of a problem. At least I did before. I don't know if the problem's... Alright. You see how the glass looks a certain way, but now that you extrude it, it looks different. If I mute this, you see how the glass doesn't change a whole lot? But if I unmute this, nothing happens. Okay. I don't know what's going on, but before, when I did this, whenever I would extrude this line up under the windows, it would completely change, I think it's the IOR of the windows. It basically turned it into a magnifying glass. And what I had to do is I had to separate all the parts out using the separate components. No, separate elements. Separate geometry? Yes. I had to use separate geometry, and I used this selection here. To pick out which parts are separated out. So what happens is the selection, let's see, it separates out this, not point, faces. There you go. So it separates this out before you extrude it, and then combines it in with the rest of the stuff. So separate it out, then extrude it. And you can see everything why is this gone now? Anyway, it's still extruded. And that was how I fixed a bug that apparently doesn't show up in this. I don't know if it's a bug, but how windows do when you bend them. It's basically turning it into a magnifying glass. Well, the reverse of a magnifying glass. So if you have problems with the magnification of glass when you extrude faces next to it, you separate them out first, then extrude them, and then join them back. And I think, okay, that didn't help any. Yeah, alright, so this is not joined back with the original mesh, which is the, so this is the original mesh. This is just the, this is the original mesh with just the windowsills. And this is the original mesh without the windowsills. And this is the extruded mesh without the original. So you combine the windowsill with everything that's not the windowsill with the main mesh. Let's see if the bug pops up now. This? Oh, there we go. Alright. Because I separated it out, the indexes, it changed the indexes on it. So after I separated it out, I used the index to pick out this. And then I extruded all of those because the only thing that's in there is the windowsill. And you get to see all the bug fixing. Or not even bug fixing, but the fixing of logic. So now I've got the windowsill, and I've got a thickness to it, and there's no windowsill in the back because I didn't extrude on the back side. And so I don't want to extrude the entire mesh. I want to extrude the mesh without the windowsills. Now that leaves a gap on the bottom. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do another extrude. Actually, let's see. I want to copy this, this, and this. Control Shift D to duplicate it and keep everything connected. But instead of reversing it, I want the normal of it. I'll inset it. And then connect this in to the join node. But instead of using 0.2, 0.2 is the same width as I'm extruding the wall. All that does is putting it right where the back wall is. So I want to add a little bit more to it. 0.4 gives it a little bit more depth. And you notice it, because I'm using the normal, it automatically goes in the correct direction. And, oh, I know where the shade smooth. That is where the glass see, I want shade smooth here. Where do I want it? I want it, actually I want it two places. Shade smooth here and shade smooth here. Now, that's where, you know, because I don't want, you know, big sharp lines in my windows. Especially when I have a round window, like a curved window, I don't want like bunches and bunches of lines. So I do shade smooth and you no longer have the lines. But that still does nothing. Extruding that does. but you want the glass extruded. You want the whole thing extruded. Oh, it's because I separated it out. If I didn't separate it out, it would warp the glass. So that's why I separated it out and extruded them and painted them individually. So I think that covers everything that I wanted to show. Extrude, separate components, scale elements. Scale elements. So now let's say I want the window to be a little bit smaller. Scale elements. Let's see which one is the window. The window would be this right here. So I set the material of it. Let's say I want to scale it. You don't. Alright, let's pick the selection. Alright, see, when you scale it like this, it goes weird. Because you're scaling it uniformly, so it scales it in. Huh. That's strange, because before when I did it, it did. It didn't follow the contour. What I had to do was normal with the cross product. And how I came up with this, I don't even know. But there's no... There's supposed to be another... single axis with the cross product. See, I just want to... I'm only trying to scale the height of it. That's what it was. I only want to scale the height. And I'm scaling only the width. Let's see. There we go. And I remember because I don't want the cracking right there. I don't actually just select the window. I select the entire loop cut, which is not this one. It is this one right here. Because that's the entire row. Well, anyway, what happens is it's overlapping the row below it. I don't remember how I did that, but you can scale smaller. I don't remember how I did that, because I don't want to scale the size of the row below it and the row above it, just the row in the middle. Let's save this, and I can look at my other file and how I did the scaling for the windows. Alright, you can see how I separated everything out for the different window sills. Extruded, shade smooth. I didn't want to shade smooth the window sills. Scale elements. This, let's see, frame thickness. This one's for the window. Alright, so let's remove that. Ah, that's what I didn't pick. I didn't need the normal for this one. I needed the normal cross product for this one, which is the frame width. Like if you just put the Z in the axis, you know, it automatically. This is still the frame. No, that's the window. Let's see, window height. Window height. Okay, so I do have a bug because I need to move frame thickness. Because I need to move the row above it and the row below it along with the windows. So I do have a bug in my program that I spotted because of this video. But that's alright, so the one that does have the cross product is for the width and I think the depth. Because this one is just those two sides. This only controls the two side frames. So I wanted just the width, but I couldn't use X and Y because it's a circle. The X direction, this is how I came up with the X direction in local space. See, this one actually works and it goes. See, you get this weird thing when you overlap the parts next to it. So you have to make sure. But no, nobody's going to have this where the frame is 3 meters wide or less than 0. But use the normal, the cross product. How I found this was just pure luck. I have no idea why this works or how it works, but it does. Single axis, normal cross product with one in the Z direction. I just played around with numbers until stuff worked, and that's sometimes how you got to do it. Let's see, and scale them. Yep, that's everything. Hope you enjoyed the video and learned something.